Okay, welcome to Scam Alert UK. My name is Vince Donovan. I set up Scam Alert UK about 3 years ago, and amazed to have got, it's almost 10,000 followers now, regularly contributing to the Scam Alert UK site, asking questions, sharing examples of different scams that they've received. Sometimes stuff they may receive which they're not sure about, and just seeking information, guidance and advice as to what to do next. And today I'd like to welcome a guest actually to Scam Alert UK. And this is something I'm looking to do as we go forward, inviting guests who have a particular specialism in certain areas around different types of scams. Now, our theme is one with regard to romance scams. And what do we firstly mean by a romance scam? Well, I guess as a definition, a romance scam or a scam occurs when a criminal adopts a fake online identity by generally stealing other people's photos to gain a victim's affection and trust. And the scammer then uses this illusion of a romantic or close relationship to manipulate and steal money from their unsuspecting victims. Now, Scam Alert UK are really pleased to introduce Joanne Coates Burch. Joanne, who established the Catfish Romance Scams and Fake Profiles private Facebook group back in 2018. Now, with over 3,000 private members, the group provides information and advice to help identify the tricks and the red flags that scammers use to target their victims. So thank you, Joanne, and welcome. Delighted for you to assist us in raising awareness of this awful scam. Joanne, I'm thrilled that you've been able to join us, because I know that this is something that means an awful lot to you. And what I'm really pleased would like to find out is, can you tell me, please, what motivated you into establishing the Catfish Romance Scams and Fake Profiles Facebook group? Joanne.
It started due to a couple of friends who were scammed. I beat bot between England and the United States. So I also help worldwide members from all over the world. These two people I helped were actually from the US. One was involved with somebody saying he was on an oil rig. Another one was involved with somebody saying he was in the military. And when both of these people eventually started asking for money in help to get them home, that's when the red flags shot up for me. And I started looking more into these romance scams and what they were about due to these friends being scammed. And I found that scammers work from scripts. They all basically have the same MO. They have to be working out of the country to be able to carry the scam on. So they do this because regardless where they say they are, most of them will say that they're working downrange with the military, they're a surgeon, doctor, they are on an oil rig, they are a contractor building bridges, and they have to be working out of the country to be able to say they're coming home. So these scammers don't care where you live, whether it's the United States, whether it's the UK, Australia, Japan. They will target people all over the world, but they will never be living in the same place where they are, because they have to gain their trust, gain their love, and they bait them in. And once they've done that, that's when they start with the I love yous, I miss you. They do a lot of love bombing, which consists of texts, morning, noon, and night, whether it's religious quotes, just love poems, just what are you doing? A few red flags we have seen is they will say, have you eaten? we're not too sure why they ask this question, have you eaten? We're wondering because a lot of these people come from Nigeria, and granted it is a poor country and there's not a whole lot of jobs going, but that still shouldn't justify them stealing from women, many women and some men. So they do ask if you've eaten. We think it's because they want to know what you're eating, which sums up how much money do you have? Are you eating a salad? Is it because you're on a diet? Are you eating a salad because you don't have any money? They will ask, some of the first things they do ask a victim is, are you happily married with kids? Are you married, divorced, or widowed? How old are you, and what do you do for a living? Basically, they're asking the victim, are you worth our time? Are you worth scamming? The scammers do not look at the victims as a victim. They look at the victims as a client. That is what they call them, clients, because the victim is nothing more than a business deal. They look for high 30s all the way up into the 70s. Mainly the older they are, probably the better, because these women are more established money-wise. They either have inheritances, they have money coming in from retirement, from Social Security. So when they've established the love and the trust, that's when they say, I want to come home. I want to come home to be with you. Let's be married. To establish that trust, they will also send trinkets, sometimes cheap engagement rings, pizza, of all things pizza, flowers, cuddly toys. These are cheap gifts, which for the victim is like, I think the wonderful thinking these guys are caring for them, when it's really nothing but a ploy to carry on baiting them in. Sometimes it could take days before they ask for money. It could take up to a year. It all depends on what they're going for and how established this scammer is. Scammers work either in twos or in groups. The ones who work in twos are getting quite established. The ones who work in groups have what's called a boss. They are learning the tricks of the trade. And then you have the single scammers who have perfected the job.
Okay. Joanne, thank you for that. I just want to sort of target some questions here. And in terms of
Absolutely.
that word target, how do criminals actually find and target their victims in the first place? What methods or strategies do they use to seek out that individual who might be vulnerable or susceptible? How do they find them?
So the scammers look on, it's usually in groups. Like they will join widows groups for widows and widowers. They will join pet groups. They will join death of a child, cancer groups. They will join.
When you say they join, do you mean on Facebook?
Facebook. Facebook groups. Okay. They will look into Facebook groups and target people within these groups. And when they found a good target, because they will go into somebody's profile and start looking to what this person is into. Do they have pets on the profile? Do they have pictures of grandkids? Do they have religious quotes? Are they talking to the friends about going to church or about saving an animal or getting together with family? They will then adapt or adopt what that person is into. And they will say, I've actually got a quote here, which I did print off. And this was actually taken from an actual scammer in a group. And he starts, hello, I'm sorry, you don't know me. I'm new here and I was lonely. I needed to talk with someone to wipe off my idleness. So I decided to open a new Facebook account and look for somebody I can be a friend. Now, one thing that they do say a lot of is, I sent you a friend request, but it didn't go through. Could you please friend me? Once these scammers get onto your friend list on your Facebook, then they will start trolling everybody on there, especially if your friend list is open. They will troll it, and they will look for other victims, and they will take note of all these victims, and they will start friending them, and then friending their victims and their friends and their friends. And that's how they build up a whole slew of victims, because out of, say, 20 victims they get, maybe one or two will take the bait. But out of those one or two, they could make thousands of dollars.
Right, okay, so I'm getting this picture now then. So going onto certain Facebook groups, targeting potentially people who may be lonely, isolated, and using Facebook to try and build up a friendship circle, if you like. And then once they've identified a possible candidate, an individual who may be susceptible and vulnerable, to then look at their Facebook photographs and to build up a profile about that individual, to link into either family, grandchildren, pets, interests, and then make it a form of connection. They make that connection, you say, then, Joanne, and then they sort of then dig deeper and then look at the friends and associates of that particular individual.
Absolutely.
Get that. So I'm with you on that. So now we've got that approach, that initial approach to make contact. So now they become a friend. They didn't get the friend's request. You said, I'm now a friend. What generally is the next action or behavior that scammer then will then look to dictate? What will the scammer do next? They befriended them. You said about bombarding. Is it straight away, or is it a gradual sort of ease into the intensity of texts? What does it look like?
So what they do is, once they get friended on Facebook, they'll chat maybe for a little bit, just a little bit in Messenger. Then they will say something like, I'm extremely busy, my job takes me away, and I'm not really allowed on Facebook. Let's go to Hangouts, WhatsApp, or there's a new one I believe called Telegram. These are private apps, private. So the first thing they really want to do is take that victim out of Facebook, away from family and friends, and somewhere private. Once they get them into this private chat, that is when they start with the, I really love talking to you, I enjoy our conversations. They'll then, they'll have by that time the victim's phone number. Now with phone numbers, you have to remember, you think about your phone number, what is your phone number attached to? Bank accounts, mortgages. It's attached to so many different things, and with the right equipment, you can find out anything. A little information can go a long way. If they don't have that information or able to get into mode just with using a phone number, there's other ways they can do it. So they will start, I really like you, you're beautiful. And the woman a lot of times will say, oh, but I'm old, I'm a lot older than you. And the scammer will say, age is but a number. First thing they'll say, age is but a number. If the victim gets a clue that it may be a scam and brings it up to the scammer will say, you need to stop talking with family and friends. They are against our love. They do not want us to be together. And he, from that point, will either start gaslighting her, cruel things, saying cruel things. I thought you loved me. I thought we were going to be together. The person then will probably panic a little bit and will stop communicating with family and friends for a time. He will then say, well, I'm away, I want to come home. I want to come home to be with you. And he'll send her fraudulent documents. Lots of times it will be a ticket, a flight ticket, airline ticket. It could be bank account information, because he may say, I'm trying to get home, but I can't get to my bank. They've locked it. Somebody tried to get in it. And they will show the victim a fraudulent bank statement of all the money he has. And he will ask them for money to please help me get home. Another thing they'll ask for are cards. Amazon cards, Google Play cards, iTunes cards, but not little way, $200-300 worth. The upshot for these scammers is as much money as they can get and as fast as they can get.
Joanne, we look at the narrative, we look at the tactics using to target vulnerable individuals on these different sites. Then the process then of trying to get them off that site into a closed communication network. You mentioned Telegram and WhatsApp and others too. Hangouts, Google Hangouts. And then you said earlier they bombard them with messages. Typically, how many messages can some of the people that you've worked with, how many messages can they receive perhaps on a day-to-day basis?
Constant. It's a form of brainwashing. Constant messages. They want the victim to feel loved, to feel wanted, to feel cared for. They can message them anywhere from 10 up to 30 times a day. Where are you? Where are you? What are you doing? What are you eating? Where are you going? Who are you talking to? And then throw in the quotes in between.
And Joanne, what help me understand, and I'm thinking of a person who may be being targeted, a vulnerable individual, somebody's connected with them, and really what we're looking at is a text-based means of communication at this stage. There's no voice discussion, and yet there's no video discussion. Now you would anticipate that somebody who's trying to build up a loving relationship with somebody, the first thing they want to do is see them. Now, we mentioned earlier about the definition of romantic scam is they'll steal the images, the identities of other people across the world. And so the person is just, I guess, seeing an image. Naturally, a person will want to meet that person on an online platform and have a conversation and see that person and learn a little bit more about their life rather than just receive text messages. How do they negate, if you like, and push back on a request then to engage in a video conference, a video call?
Well, they'll get away with the telephone and the accent by saying, because a lot of these women, a lot of them are not worldly. They have not traveled. Many have not traveled out of the US, let alone England or Australia. They've just stayed in their own little bubble. Many of these women have been married for 30 or 40 years and have all of a sudden are widowed and have no idea about the world outside of the internet. So when they're listening to somebody with an accent, they just think maybe they are from, like the scammer may say, I'm German descent, or I'm from a different place in Europe, or some may even say, my father was African or my mother was British. That's how they get away with on-the-line phone calls. Now, as far as the video goes, they will not video. They cannot video because they are not the person in the photograph. But what they will do is manipulate that video. So a lot of times they'll have a photograph of the person they are using. They will hold it up and they'll fuzz out the video. So it's really fuzzy, but you can also almost pick out the person. Well, that's him. I can see it. But it's fuzzy. Or the place they're stealing the photographs from, the same place they'll have videos on there. So they'll play those videos but with no sound. Because if they had the sound, their voice would not match up the scammer's voice. So they'll say, did you not hear me? I sent you the video. Did you not hear me? Of course, well, no, I didn't. There was no sound. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll try again later. Or again, it could be a black screen. Just saying, I don't know, my camera's broken. I have no idea what's wrong. Or one of the prime examples of not video chatting, they'll say, I am not allowed. My boss won't let me, it's not allowed. They'll say it's not allowed in the military, they'll say it's not allowed on an oil rig. Video chatting is always allowed. Oil rigs and military, there are secured areas everywhere where you are not allowed to video chat. Yes, there are. There are even secured areas you're not even allowed to have a telephone. But there are many areas where you are. Many areas. Military, prime example, if you YouTube military parodies where they're lip syncing to latest songs, if they're allowed to do that, 20 or 30 military guys downrange doing a parody to Lady Gaga's latest song and dancing around, yes, they can video chat. And it's called morale, especially in the military. They want the morale to keep up for the guys and the girls there. So they encourage talking to family and to friends, to girlfriends, to boyfriends. I have a very good friend who's in England, and her husband is an American, and he works off the coast of Scotland on an oil rig. And he made for my group videos of him walking around the oil rig, showing how well they eat, showing them on telephones, showing them on the computers, showing the game rooms. People on oil rigs live very, very well. They do not need money, same as military. They do not need money.
What you've done there then, Joanne, is try to dispel the myth, try to educate people who join your group and say, look, whatever you're being told about the constant excuses why the video isn't coming through, why it's so fuzzy, why it's so blurred, why it's a black screen, these are all excuses so you don't see the people you're actually dealing with.
Absolutely.
The scammer, the criminal. And on that video you said about the friend in Scotland, because I'm having this interview with you now, Joanne, you're actually in America. You've got a very localized accent, but you're actually where generally, on your proxy, where are you in America, Joanne?
I'm in the South.
You're in the South, good stuff.
I'm in the South, yeah.
Okay.
I've lived in America for a lot of years. I do go back home a lot.
And home is in
Yorkshire.
England for you, Joanne?
Yeah, West Yorkshire.
West Yorkshire, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, they are the
Northern lass through and through.
Nice one, okay. So it was great then to have the ability then for somebody actually on an oil rig to show and demonstrate the ability to communicate, how well they eat, to dispel the tactics used by the criminal that their boss won't let them.
Yeah.
Likewise with the military too.
My husband's military. He's now retired. He was 24 years US Navy. And he has done many, been a guest in my group for me and dispelled a lot of these myths.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Great to hear that work is ongoing. But you, I guess with over 3,000 followers who have joined your particular group, Joanne, is there a number of those, a significant number who have actually been victims of these romance scams themselves?
I would say 75%.
75.
75% have been
scammed. Some idea, perhaps, I know in America you're probably going to resort there to dollars, but give us an idea, typically, what type of loss does somebody have or experience? How much money can somebody, the victims who have joined you, how much have they actually lost? What range is that?
I've helped many victims and the families, and a lot of times it's the families who seek me out to help them help the victim because of the amount that has been lost. Anywhere from small amounts, but to that person could be a lot of amounts, which is $3,000, all the way up to $350,000, up past $1 million. And that's just the money. That's not including houses that have been sold, cars that have been sold, bank accounts, going to the banks for loans, to get loans for these scammers, borrowing from family and friends, selling jewelry, selling items. Thing is with these victims, they get financially and emotionally invested in the person they are talking to. By the time they get an inkling that this person is not real, they are already invested by thousands of dollars.
Give me also example, Joanne, if how long for some of those who you said about almost 75% of the people who joined your group, for some, how long had that grooming, that romance scam process taken? Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it a year? What's the shortest? And give us some idea of the longest.
I'd say the shortest. The scammers who are just starting out are like bulls in a china shop. They last within days. I need to get money put on my phone. Could you send me a card? They'll start really small amounts, but those are the ones just starting off. But the more professional ones who are going for the big bucks, maybe 3 months. That's when they start asking. But by that time, this person's already getting the warm fuzzies and can't wait to wake up to see what message is on the phone. So I'd say 3 months. The longest a scammer I have heard has gone is a year. I do want to say, though, as well, one thing these scammers do, and this is really important, they will say, you know how much I love you and that we're going to get married and I am coming home to be with you. Let's send each other some photos. And when I say photos, I'm talking risque photos. So the scammer will send her from the neck down. She, being all giggly and excited, will send a bit more. These scammers will keep those photographs and will use them against her when the money stops coming. So they will, by this time, they've already seen everything on the Facebook. She's probably already shared with him grandkids and family and friends and where she works. So he's already got all this information. And now he's got this information, he's going to use these photographs against her. If you don't send me X amount of dollars every week, I am going to post all these photographs online, and I am going to send them to your job, to your family, and to your friends, and to your children.
So then you've got
that has happened.
You've got the element there. Joanne, I want to pick up on some of the human factors. You said that victims have basically lost incredible amounts any amount of money, but incredible amounts in other cases. They've sold jewelry, they borrowed money, they've been wiped out. That's the financial cost. What about the emotional cost for them, the victim themselves, and potentially their close family circles, their family networks, their close friends?
Yeah.
Who suffers in this? Let's look at the emotional impact on the victim firstly. What some of the people that you've liaised with, you've engaged with within your group, what impacts has it had on them in terms of the way they see the world now and their fears and concerns? Yeah, what does that look like, Joanne?
I've had a few people, quite a lot actually, in the group say they'd wish they'd found myself and my group sooner. It would have saved them thousands of dollars as well as the emotional upset. Others emotionally are broken. They are broken people. Not only that, but they have lost family and friends along the way, because family and friends have tried to tell the victims, this is not who you're talking to. They see how much debt they've got into, they see how much they owe out, and they still haven't listened. And by the time they've got a clue, they've lost everything along with family and friends. We've actually had to do in my group, wellness checks on a couple of victims. Send police to them to find out if they're okay because of threats of harm to themselves. And I have known a couple who have actually ended their lives through this. they had nothing left to live for. They'd lost everything, along with realizing that they were duped, that the person they thought they were in love with and will love back is not who they said they were. And a lot of times they will, once everything has gone, there's nothing left, and just say they didn't send any photographs out, but there's nothing left, then the scammer will just ghost them. They will sell that information. They will sell anything that the victim has sent them. Driver's license information, phone numbers, addresses, bank information. They will sell it to up-and-coming scammers. So it doesn't just end with them, the scammer leaving them. Now they've got these other scammers coming. Now they have to run riot trying to change phone numbers, sort the bank accounts out, put locks on everything.
Joanne, this must have had a big impact on you as well, your personal investment into setting up the group and listening to people and hearing the situations they found themselves in. It must be quite emotionally exhausting for you too, Joanne.
It is. I spend hours every day. My messenger is blown up every day through people asking for help. But I also will reach out to people to help them. Like, say, for example, a member in my group will post a fake profile saying this person is in this group and he's trying to friend women. So I'll go into this profile and I will see who is liking his stuff, who's liking, who's commenting. I will message those women and I'll just say something simple. Hey, this person is not who he says he is. 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, I know who that person is and the photograph he's using. And if I don't know who it is, I find it. I can find out who it is. I can find out the phone numbers they are using because they all use VoIPs. I can run emails to see how fraudulent they are. So the people I will contact, I will show them proof. This is the person, the photograph they are using. This is the real person's name. And what they want to do, that information then is up to them. I can only do so much. But a lot of times they will get back to me.
That's an amazing, because you do this just out of your own good self to help and protect and educate people. This is something you've taken on board, Joanne, yeah?
I do it for them. I do it out of the billions of pounds that are leaving England every year. The billions of dollars that's leaving the United States every year. That's leaving Australia. Billions and billions and billions are being lost between the scammers, between the money mules. It's mind-blowing the amount of money that is lost. I have had death threats because of scammers. They found out who I was and I've got death threats, which, whatever. I have had the most heinous texts in my messenger from scammers. Basically, one of them, and I quote, "We steal from your white women because you are all so stupid. We and our parents now drive your cars." That was just one tidbit I got. They have absolutely no remorse what they are doing. They will say when they're caught red-handed, they'll say things like, we're poor, you're rich, I had to drop out of school, my parents are dead, I'm feeding my siblings. Basically, they're looking for the sob, they're trying to give a sob story, trying to justify why they're doing this, but they don't stop because they're sitting like I'm sitting now on the keyboard making thousands of dollars just from doing nothing. They're not going to give that up too easily. And that is why, as you know, my group, collectively, we have to stop this. We have to educate people, about where you're going and who you're talking to. And learn how to reverse images yourself and learn about groups like mine. And even the games you play, I know I play Scrabble Go. It's a fun game. It's my downtown game. I must get 5 to 10 scammers coming through wanting to play with me. How do I know the scammers? One, they're using a photograph, I know. Or two, if they're not using any photo, the minute I start playing, keywords. Hello, dear. Dear, that's a keyword. How are you doing today? How's the weather over there? How's the COVID situation? I'm like, beep, block. It's crazy. You have to be so aware of what sites you're going on, what games you're playing, and the keywords and the red flags.
And
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm just taken aback by your focus, the insight you have. What I'm always conscious of when people view this video, they might feel that this is something that they may be experiencing. They may have some doubts or suspicions about somebody that they may be engaging with online. Joanne, what advice would you give to anyone watching this interview if they are concerned that they may be actually in the process of being a victim themselves of a romance scam? What advice would you give them? What can they do? What step-by-step approach can they do to disconnect and distance themselves from this person who's targeting them?
Well, we have a saying which is hunks don't hunt. So if this guy's overly gorgeous, I hate saying it like this, but 20, 30-year-olds, beautiful looking men are not going after 60, 70-year-old women. They're just not. They need to reach out, ask somebody, don't be embarrassed. That's what I found with a lot of the women. They're embarrassed to say anything because they've been possibly talking to this person for a while. They may have even sent a little bit of money, and this could be embarrassing to them. Don't be. You are not the only one. You have got to reach out to family, to friends, to me, to my group. Message me. I don't care. You have got to take care of you. And if you can take care of you, then maybe you can take care of somebody else who thinks they're being scammed. You've got to learn the red flags, and there's so many red flags out there. Widowed, divorced, widowed, the wife died in a car crash, cancer, or childbirth. Divorced, the wife ran off with a best friend, was an alcoholic or drug user. The scammer is always working away, always out of the country, never where you are. They always have a reason not to video chat. They will ask you for money. They will ask you to go to Hangouts or WhatsApp. They have a child in boarding school or with a nanny. Learn the red flags. There are so many. I think I wrote... I did write up a whole list of the red flags, and I think there was like at least 20. And when they can't come and see you, and it's because they lost a passport, they got in hospital, they're sick, the child's sick, the nanny needs money, they were robbed, the car was stolen, they owe taxes, they aren't allowed to leave the country. There's so much there. If you get that little, that spidey sense tingle where it's like, something's not right here, you are probably right. It's not.
Go with your gut reaction.
Yes, absolutely.
See through those clouds, see through all that faff, if you like. And
faff.
Dig deeper. It might be that somebody who's watching this is in the very early stages of that communication. It might be that they've actually paid out hundreds, £1,000, £2,000 to this person. Joanne, it's only going to get worse unless they end it. What advice would you give to somebody who thinks, right, I see the light now. I get it. This is not the relationship I thought it would be. What advice would you do? How can they close it and shut it all down? Is it just simply a delete, a block? What can they do? What advice do you give to your people who follow you within your group as to ending that conversation? How do they do it?
Oof. That's the hardest thing for a lot of these people. When you've been talking to a scammer for a long, long time, you've invested, like I've said before, emotionally and financially. It's a little bit like being an alcoholic or a drug addict. It's hard to walk away because many do go back. So you need support. You need a really good support system. You need your family there. You need your friends there. You need counseling. First and foremost, you need counseling. You have to change your phone number. If he has your phone number, because they use VoIPs, which is a voice over, it's a computerized phone number. So they can use different phone numbers, saying they're anywhere in the world. They're still sat in Nigeria, and they'll still have your phone number. So you have to change your phone number, change your email, get out of Hangouts and WhatsApp, block it all. Delete it and block it. Delete him on everything. If he is still coming through, send it to your junk mail. Don't even look at it. Just delete it. You have to stay strong. It's strength. You need strength. You need counselling, and you need the support of family and friends.
Now, Joanne, there's something I picked up there. You said he. Well, in terms of the sort of percentages, are men targeted by romance scams as well? We're all seem to do females here. What type of percentage do you have in your group? Do you have?
Well, to be honest with you, there are men will play both men and women, same as women. Women will play both men and women. All right, just really quick, and I'll answer your question. When you look at somebody's Facebook, or look on your own Facebook, and it'll say, she, like when you're posting, she just, Joanne just posted something new. It'll always say she. So why is it saying she if he's like Facebook is now changed to a man's name with a man's picture, but it's still saying she in the comments? And if you scroll all the way through down to the bottom of Facebook, a lot of times you'll see who it is. You'll see who's working that Facebook. The biggest men, there are a lot of men who get scammed as well. Maybe not as much as women, but I would say at least 30%. At least 30%, maybe more. There are a lot of men in our group, and I actually have several. And one is from England. I'm not going to say his name, but he is a British guy who is very prominent in England. And he's in my group because he has had his photographs and his videos stolen thousands of times. I have a couple more in there who are very well-known faces, also used, they had their face being used thousands of times as well. They don't distinguish. At the end of the day, it's about the money. That's what it's all about. At the end, the upshot is the money. They will play gay, they will play transvestite, they will play male, female, whatever it takes to get a payday.
Joanne, you mentioned our focus tonight has been on the victims of romance scams, but your group also then looks to support people who've had their profiles stolen and their profiles being used to be these romance scams. What's that like for some of the individuals who have joined your group? What's the impact on them if they realise that somebody has fallen in love with their photograph and things like that all around the world? How does that affect those victims to have had their identity stolen and they're out there being used as...
Extremely frustrating. Extremely. The one from England I was just telling you about, he has had women approach him. But you've got my money. Where are you? You said you were going to come visit me. I have another friend who he's actually gay. He is very, very gay. Wonderful man. He lives in Palm Springs, and they love his photograph. He's a fit, handsome man, very fit, very handsome, and he runs his own art dealership in Palm Springs. Anyway, he, they love his photograph. He's a fit, handsome man, very fit, very handsome. And he runs his own art dealership in Palm Springs. Anyway, they love his photograph. He's a fit, handsome man, very fit, very handsome. And he runs his own art dealership in Palm Springs. He has had women approach him in restaurants, at his store, some getting quite violent with him, asking for the money back, calling him a liar. And for him, it's embarrassing. One, like I said, he's gay. And two, it's like this, you're in my place of business. I've done nothing to you, and here they are walking in, and he's got some really big customers in there. And, there's a woman accusing him of stealing thousands of dollars from her.
Now, one of the things that I'm obviously very much involved in supporting victims of various scams is people's identity. And I know that when I work and liaise within various organisations here in the UK, if an individual applies for a certain job, sometimes people who are particularly savvy will, HR staff who are paper sifting down perhaps 100, 200 applicants to possibly 10 they're going to interview. What they tell me is they're going to Google them. They're going to search them on Google to see about their Google identities. The point I'm making here is if you're an individual who's had your personal information stolen and it's now linked to scam, cons, crime, goodness me, that must be incredibly impacting. And, well, frankly, what would somebody do? What advice would you get to anybody? What advice you give to anybody in your group if they have been that individual who's had their personal identity stolen? What advice within the group do you give for that individual, Joanne?
The ones in my group are established. The ones who've had the photographs taken, they are very established. So there's not much of a problem for them. I think for anybody else, I would, if you were going on an interview, I would come clean. I would just say, look, this is what's happening. This is what's happened. It is not me. I would just be very upfront and very honest. I think honesty is obviously the best policy. I do know of one military guy who has had his profile used. In fact, that profile just tried to friend me on Instagram. And I'm like, I know, the real man. And he actually had to get out of the military because of this. It was just impacting his career so much. He has had to get out of it. There's a couple more military men who now make videos of what's happening to them. And one he played on this video, he played an excerpt from a phone call he had received from this woman, literally crying and accusing him of breaking her heart and not flying to her and taking her money. And he's trying to explain, I'm married and I have children. That was not me. And her screaming at him, yes, it was. You're the one in the picture. I know it's you. So it impacts them terribly. It impacts the wives, the spouses, the girlfriends, the boyfriends. But again, these scammers don't care. It's all about the money. That's just what it is at the end of the day. It's how much they can get. It's all about the money, yeah. And so much money is being made, and so many victims, unfortunately, are out there, and will continue to be out there. Sorry. Oh, the wind has just blown the blind. Sorry, I can cut that. So many victims are out there, unfortunately. Joanne, as we come to the end of our interview, is there any sort of, if you were to break it down, any advice you would give to anybody? What would you got this opportunity? What would you say to somebody who is concerned, who's got any suspicions or concern? They've watched this video. What should they do? What should they do next? They finished watching this video. What should they do next? Okay, so if you're single, even married people, I know, go looking. They're a little bored. They go looking. One, if you are online looking for love, you need to get educated. Become educated. Learn as much as you can. Don't just take for granted the person you've just started talking to is real. Don't take for granted. Start looking at red flags. Start asking them real personal questions. If they are real, they're going to want to know you're as real as they are. Video chat straight off. If they can't video chat like you can see me now, talking, moving, they are not who they say they are. Don't just look at somebody, well, she's beautiful or he's so handsome. Remember, it could be a stolen photograph. Get educated, learn how to reverse image, join a decent group. Seriously, somebody who can really point you or help you. If you are not computer savvy, that's okay. We are. I am. I can help. Ask a grandkid. They are. If you have teenagers as kids, ask them. They know how to do these things, reverse image. But remember, just because a photograph doesn't come up, doesn't make him real. All that means is that photograph has not been used before. It's not been in the news. It's not being used in scams. It's not being used in, say, a car accident. It was on the news. Or it's not a famous person. Believe me, England, you have got, Hollywood, Paul Hollywood. He's on the baking show. Okay, Paul Hollywood. He's used constantly in scams. He's a gorgeous looking man. Is Paul Hollywood going to be looking for a love interest? No. Same as celebrity groups. Don't just think it's a celebrity fan group. Lots of these groups are set up solely to scam. Solely. So please, just educate yourselves. Education is key.
Joanne, if I come in there now, what I'm also mindful of is, okay, that moment of realization. Speaking of immediate family, you may have been affected. You may not have been affected. Somebody close to you, they may be affected. Now, here in the UK, if we have been a victim of a crime of this nature, I'm sure, Joanne, you'd agree with me, the first thing we do is contact your bank immediately. Look to, if that person's got access or your account details, let your bank know. Let your bank know to secure what money is still there that you can still be in control of. Then in the UK, contact Action Fraud. Action Fraud, these can be contacted on their telephone number. I'll put the telephone number on the slide below. And they can also be contacted on the website, the Action Fraud website. So we need to report that matter. So it is so important that you do reach out, you do tell somebody, speak to family, report the matter, and stop it from getting any worse, because Joanne, it could get worse, it will get worse.
Yeah. And one thing, never, ever give out any personal details. Do not screenshot or photograph your driver's license, your birth certificate, your passport. Please keep all those safe. Never, ever give those to anybody asking for it, ever, because they will be reused in scams, and they will also be used to scam you. That is personal information. That is your information and nobody else's.
Well, Joanne, great advice, great information. I'm so delighted that you've been able to join us in this discussion on the subject of romance scams, and for those individuals who had their identity stolen. Joanne, you and your group do an amazing job. I just want to put a little sort of note out on that. That's the Catfish Romance Scams and Fake Profiles Facebook group. That's where you'll find Joanne. This is a private group.
Yes.
Joanne, why have you made it private? Obviously, there will be a questioning process for people to join that group. Why have you made it a private group, Joanne?
Well, for a start, we vet everybody who wants to join because we don't want scammers in there. We have victims within our group, and we do not want to make them a double victim. So we're there to, it's private to keep them safe, to keep our group safe and to keep them safe. We vet everybody, everyone who wants to join. And if we feel there's something not right about somebody wanting to join, I'll ask to video chat them. You don't want to video chat me, you don't get in the group.
So, Joanne, I just want to thank you for your amazing passion, your focus in trying to help people out there all across the world in staying safe. And staying safe from being a victim of a romance scam or a victim of having their identity stolen. Joanne, you've been amazing. Thank you so much. Keep in touch. Any emerging issues, any new patterns, we'd love to meet you again. And we'll do another video to keep our community safe. Thanks, Joanne.
Fabulous. Thank you.